All right, let's get after it. To Christ be the glory. It is Friday, the 18th of March, 2022. Another day of just getting after it. We had 9:30 strategy on the future side, working great, working like a charm today. The daily strategy coming in from 6 o'clock. That would be yesterday, coming into today for the ES considered daily session. Working like a charm, working awesome there. Took that on the MES side, just going for one, but still seeing the parameters that I set initially for when that started at that point in time, and based on the backtested data that way, and then also some stupidly, well, then bleeding into the stupidly little one-time 1 minute tick stealing that I'm trying to do on some of the just very rudimentary and basic 1 minute candle production. Fail on that one's a lost a point and a half, I think, on that. And then for what the strategy was for when I shut down my NinjaTrader and then I pulled it back up and then re-enabled the strategies, it still ended up submitting the exit on session close sell for the last little daily, even though I was already out of it. So then lost another half of a point on that. So just kind of stupidly eating away some of the profits on that one. And I only was hoping to take 2 ES contracts in that 9:30 strategy, but only did 1 because I was fooling around with that as well. So learning lessons all around. I can't be mad at a profitable day even through all those mistakes, but certainly more work left to be done. Always going to be. But great learning lessons all around on those. Not a lot of dumpers on the scanner that I just wanted to mention in doing just my little preliminary search of scans here. So very green day on the SPY. Maybe that just, for this triple witching day, maybe that just does not produce a lot of dumpers to pop up there. Of stocks dumping over, I think I had that set at like beyond 15% of whatever, of some other parameters as well on there too. But not a lot popping up today on that. And yeah, that's all I wanted to do for introduction. Let's do some dollar volume quick. We have got NASDAQ at $236 billion volume on the day as of an hour, 34 minutes after the close here. NYSE $334 billion volume. OTC is $2.2 billion volume on the day on this Friday here. 2 trades for me in and out on MULN and PIK, and very small size on both of them. And let's get right into it. MULN. Talk about first, man, I wanted to size up incredibly harder on this trade, and I severely underestimated the potential move for this bad boy today. Before I get into my trade specifically, just wanted to forget which ticker it was. I gotta say it's been a few months ago now that did a similar type of effect in toying with that short sale restricted metric. We closed at 246 yesterday, so that point was 221 today during market hours that we needed to hit in order to enact that 10% drawdown, which would get us in that short sale restricted mode. And that was just ludicrous. And I wish I remember that ticker, but number 7, Jack number 2 mentioned it perfectly in the chat of how it did a similar thing that to almost the cent, this one jumped a little bit below 220, which our number was 221, but to the cent, or just barely, they take this thing below that point in order to just end up ripping it higher and higher for just a crazy move. And culminating that, it's a Friday. This is a crazy low floater. Lots of interest in this stock. Added to some great things there for price action going into today. So my mentality after the first few minutes of market open, I did not want to chase it. I did not want to start in pre-market at all. We're already in that breakout point. Of course, beyond that little downtrending daily, but in this little recent run-up that we've had, breakout already happened over this little previous range. So now it's just saying, okay, if we have volume, we're just going to be looking for key technical levels from red to green, and also from this $0.50 psychological level of 2.5, and then, of course, also that previous high. So those are just little ranges to watch out for. That, hey, if we find any amount of, my idea coming into this one is, hey, if we're finding any amount of consolidation or blatant opportunity to suggest a risk reward level that could push above this price and then hold as a support level to continue on testing these key levels above it, then that was what I was looking for ideally, to begin sizing into more with a profitable risk reward setup that found favor in me, of getting in the trade on my terms and not just chasing it kind of randomly as it's going up and progressing crazily. Just Energizer Bunny was the only thought that was coming into my head as I was watching this ticker all day, of man, chugga choo choo. It really, I mean, you can call this little point here just under 2.4, which our close was 2.46 or something. You can call this little tiny pullback here consolidation for how it was holding off of that of 2.38, and then that was another push off there for I'm trying to classify something that paradigm I had coming into today as that was the red to green move consolidation, but even at that, it's just a hard call of 3 minutes of consolidation there after it already had very quickly dipped to the upside and bounced off a VWAP very sharply. In my eyes, it was a hard red to green call on that for just how quickly those things were happening and progressing within the morning session. But beyond that, I took a very small starter size of 50 shares after we're seeing the bounce off of VWAP here to 30, essentially. As we got the bounce off of VWAP there, risking low day, obviously, but also keeping it a small position size because I was still thinking it was going to be more probable that we would eventually, maybe we get a little lower high here and pull back to the downside of VWAP, but still maintain low of day. And then we consolidate a little bit more, just fiddle around for the morning session, then have some other rampage, maybe during lunch or during the afternoon session, but keeping it very small to keep that risk factor in mind of I was risking low of day on that below 2.2 on this little candle here. But sure enough, that was the pristine opportunity for the rest of the day. If I hadn't gone into the day looking for that exact price target that Roy in the Millionaire chat nailed beautifully. I think he got long at like 219. Beautiful entry there. That became the low of the day for market hours. Absolutely insane there. But taking a very small size and severely underestimated, like I said earlier, I didn't want to be even scaling out or taking profits on this small of a position size because of how much size I did want to take, because and then it's like, okay, am I trading this specific trade and position size I'm in it now, or am I actually looking to add more and looking for points of consolidation to add to this winner? And then it's just like, okay, it's moving a little bit quicker than the trade idea was for me when I got in the trade. So then I'm just going to treat it as if it was its own trade in itself. So started scaling out as I saw a little bit top in here at 2.4. Like I mentioned, a little consolidation breaks the upside there. Okay, we're getting some nice quick price movement to 2.5. We're now hitting that key psychological level. I'll let price run into me there for some more shares. We're continuing to move. Okay, we're now testing 2.6 here. We'll sell just short of that into strength. We get a little pullback. Use the same methodology that I like, but got perfectly taked out on today before. How much more is this move? Beyond 10% from 2.6 to just short of 3 for this little morning session that I definitely would have been holding through. Well, maybe even not through this one, but perfectly ticked out bottom wick here in playing the stop correlating to the bottom of the previous candle to make a new high of day. Like I mentioned I think that was yesterday in that daily trading recap of using that methodology of, okay, now as we're evolving this breakout trade, it's not so much a breakout, but it's a red to green. Okay, now price is moving fairly quickly. Now we can implement this strategy. And I even looked at it on the 5-minute chart as well too, in the same light of, okay, now I can use this metric, widen up my time frame a little bit and say, I still think you have upward price movement. And I think for that final exit was 10, 15 shares left. I had maybe just slowly scaling out that position size over these 3 previous exits before that. But then again, I was perfectly stopped out. That was a perfect exit that price just wanted to go there, and market makers obviously saw a lot of other plays at that specific price before it just ended up ripping higher and then spanking out all the other eager beavers to try to get in this thing short. I think that same guy, Roy, was very eager, chomping at the bit all of this morning session until he eventually turned and said, okay, now I have a long bias on this one. And made some nice, decent profit on that chart today. Jackaroo, too, he was at one point in the chat, he was just posting, this is a great lesson of why you always hold and you never change your thought process on being long, and this is why I'm getting rewarded today, and I'm never even selling, like, along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but kind of like, for who he is, that's, like, kind of crazy in a sense of, but he obviously has more rep to talk than me, that's for sure. And he traded this chart far better than I did today in evaluating it and understanding what it could potentially actually do coming into today. So that was a little trade, scalping out, setting stops, adjusting, following the plans that I thought were going to happen and adjusting for what I thought was seeing. But now the truth was there that, okay, this chart became a very different chart, and maybe there should have been a recognizing of that beforehand in pre-market to say there's this chart, should these metrics start to be hit, we could see these specific things then happening if then, consequences as of results. So yeah, great learning lessons. I can't deny or not take a 7.4% profit for whatever position size I take. But yeah, certainly would have liked to have been in a lot bigger position size and be sitting through, being a little bit more and adjusting my stop targets with this little breakout trend of giving it just a little bit more wiggle room to be able to pull back and kind of tease out shorts before it just continued to squeeze more. With that short sale restriction, with it being a Friday, lots of opportunity. That's all I want to talk about on MULN. I'll go into PIK now, which I also took. Very kind of educational, experimental trade for me. I don't want to consider it so chasey, but just of how many times this thing has spiked before, it was not hard enough of a conviction for me to be taking any large amount of position size on this type of trade from it squeezing initially on this first screen day, in pre-market, out of the gate from market open, before the close, in pre-market today, within the first few minutes, again, similar how it did on that first day. All those different squeezes of how many more times can I do this, and are you trying to force something more out of this than is really going to be possible? But then again, factor into it's Friday. This is a crazy low floater. They're negative on cash. It's sketch. They're all sketchy, manipulative companies. Anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. But then of keeping very small position size, recognizing, okay, are we putting in higher lows? Is price on the level 2 in time and sales actually determining and saying that this has the potential to go higher? And reading for what I was reading on the level 2 in time and sales, I thought bidders were stepping in and testing those key levels on the ask. So I sat in with 20 shares total, playing it for, looked like it was actually going to be a little fake out in this next minute candle, but sure enough, did break to a new market hours high a day here. Selling into some, I think I took off half, just short of that $7 whole dollar level. Had a little perk above that with a doji at that breakout point and pull back. And again, that same breakout stop mentality of the previous candle to make a new high, using that low as the stop for this breakout point got me out on those final 10 shares. As it did have a little higher low here, a perk attempt in this 950 candle, but that was kind of it. Before it did consolidate, of course, have a new high of the day and looking very bullish for the rest of the morning session going into lunch, and then eventually dying off, cracking to the downside of VWAP, trying to reclaim, but getting forced back under. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening within the next few days here. If I carry in a short bias just to look for a first red day, a preemptive first red day short, of playing into that of, to be holding this thing short overnight, I could see that as a potential position that I would have taken paper. Never I would touch that reel for the lack of data, just very experimental, educational for that style of trade. But certainly keeping a watch on it for the type of price and volume has accrued over the past 2 trading days and what it could potentially do for the next few trading days as well. That was PIK, and those were all the trades I really wanted to talk about on the day. That's all I really did. Besides the futures trading, I wanted to talk about GFAI, something to potentially watch. Jackaroo was pretty hot on this ticker, and I did also fall in love with the daily as well for how we're holding. Held $1 pretty nicely. I believe this is a low floater as well, 10 million floater I'm seeing. They do have $6 million in a shelf still left, and obvious correlation of on the 16th it's showing there's a press release because they got a notification from the NASDAQ that they need to pump their stock price back up above $1 or else they'll get delisted. Not anything serious as of right now, but oh wow, isn't that coincidental that now it's back above $1 when they get this letter and they can get specific news catalysts to come out to pump it above. Wow, that's just a wonderful miracle, right? But that's what all these companies do. That's what we're playing for, is the sketchy, manipulated volatility there. So I don't have any position on it as of right now, but as of pulling up Jackaroo's post and pulling it up later in the afternoon here, I could certainly see the thesis on that style of trade. It's not the most beautiful type of printing that I want to see for type of trading. Looking at, it's still trading $15 million dollar volume on the day, which isn't anything to shake a stick at, but yeah, just of how these type of tickers trade, it just kind of a pet peeve of mine of that it's just so blocky type of printing. That's the only way I can describe it, versus very smooth and solid volume is printing all the way through on days like this. But yeah, I could certainly see Monday having a little test of 1-2 here, or the previous high around 135-ish. Could see a potential run if it doesn't just pre-ejaculate early in pre-market on that Monday, on next week Monday. But that'll be an interesting one to watch over the next week. And that is all that I had. I sincerely thank you guys for watching. We got plenty more work to get done, and even more than after that. So we will catch you guys on the next one.